let's go over some more common myths when it comes to building muscle. One of those is that if you lift heavy weight and you do less reps, right? So think kind of like power building or power lifting, you're going to build bulky muscle. That's one myth. Another myth is we have your either, that was one was like power lifting, which is like the heavy weight, less reps. The second one is, okay, and we hear this a lot. I've had so many women when I get them in that are new and I'm personal training them, you know, when I was personal training clients, and I'd come over and I'd give them a set and I'd say, okay, Mrs. Jones, I'm going to set you up here. I set their weight up. I'm like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to do this many reps. I turn around, I walk away, I go help, you know, and work with one of my other clients, and I come back and Mrs. Jones has cut the weight in half that I gave her and she's doing 30 reps. This happens to me way more than I thought would ever happen, right? Like, I'm like, hi, okay, I'm a personal trainer. I've done this. We've have clients that have come through and been successful. And Mrs. Jones just knows better. She thinks she knows because she's read the magazines, and in her head, you know, that's heavy. I'm going to get bulky. And so she thinks, okay, I lightened it up because I want to tone. I'm not trying to get bulky. That's not how your body works. Okay. It's not how it works. So this happens a lot, and that's a myth, right? Lighter weights, more reps means I'm going to have long, lean muscle. If I do heavy and light, you know, less reps, this means I'm going to get bulky muscle. That's not, your body doesn't say like, oh, okay, this weight is light, we're going to sculpt lean, long muscles. That's not, it doesn't shuffle around the goals like that and decide to just lay down tissue in a different manner. Okay. These myths are definitely perpetuated for women to lift lighter, and they're absolutely false. Okay. You don't build lean muscle or bulky muscle. You're either building, you're either losing, or you're keeping. And that's essentially the truth of it is you're either doing one of those three, and you can't tell your body to make a bulky muscle or a lean muscle. It's just going to do one of those three things. And the way that it lays on your body depends on your genetics, and it depends on what your diet looks like, right? If your diet is trash, then you are going to look bulky. Okay. It bears worth repeating that having that bulky appearance is usually because there's too much body fat laying on top. I know, boo-hoo, sad day, not my favorite way to deliver news, but it is the hard and fast truth. So you want to build as much muscle as you can, and that is hard because some people will build faster genetically, and it's still honestly not even at the bodybuilding level. One thing that's funny is you can stop at any time, right? Like you can stop at any time. If you notice a specific body part is looking bulkier than you would particularly like, and your diet is in check, which I'll use myself as an example. I also have a client that is another great example that you might follow, which is my client, Tina Bauer. She's a 56-year-old bikini competitor. She's a really great friend of mine. I've been working with her for 10 years now, for the better part of 10 years. She had a little bit of a break in between, but with her, she was in this mindset. And this is actually a perfect example I wasn't even planning on using. When I started weight training her, you know, she loved the results, all the things. And then we decided we were going to try to get her on stage, right? She was kind of kicking and screaming about it, but she had this desire. And I was like, look, we're going to do this shit. Okay. I got your back. So we started getting her ready for a show. She had been weight training for quite some time already. I want to say we had been working together probably about 2 or 3 years before she decided she wanted to compete. Now, this conversation is important even if you have no desire to compete, because it's one in which it'll probably click a little bit better for you. So Tina's building muscle. She's not dieting, right? She's cleaning up her food. Her body's changing. She dropped a lot of cellulite. I mean, I have a plethora of progress photos from this woman, okay? And we decide to put her in a contest prep. And when you go into a contest prep, you are in a diet, right? You're in a deficit, and the goal of bodybuilding competition contest prep is to get to a level of leanness that is suitable for the division you're competing in, okay? The reason why I say it like that is because it does not mean just get as skinny as you can and as lean as you can. That is a faulty way of going about contest prep. You need to know, you need to work with a coach that has a trained eye for what the division needs. This is a really long story. So long story short is that as Tina was dieting and we started getting her lean for her show, it was very apparent that she had built a significant amount of upper body muscle, okay? To the point where it threw off her body symmetry a little bit, because for the bikini division, they want an hourglass shape. So we would not have known that until we stripped her body fat down low enough to see what muscle she had built over the years, okay? Now, mind you, she started her journey in her 50s. So this is a much slower pace for her. You know, she had been active most of her adult life, but she wasn't really doing focused weight training until she met me, okay? So we do her first show. It is very apparent as she's standing up there with all these other women that her upper body needed to come down. The only way to do that was to slap her hands and say, we can't train your upper body. This was a huge mind F. Okay, I'm not going to use the F word. It's way too early right now. So she struggled with that, okay? Like to the point where I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with this woman. And she will tell you firsthand, I was like, look, you need to trust me. I've done this a time or 10 or 100. And I know it sounds counterintuitive for you to not train a specific body part, like it's going to just wither away and like you're going to be like a wet noodle, but that's not what's going to happen. It takes a while for you to atrophy your muscles if you have overdeveloped them, okay? I am dealing with that right now. I'm trying to bring down some of my upper body mass from lifting for 20 years because I don't want my back muscles to be as big and thick and wide as they are. So I'm doing upper body once a week, and it's like 2 exercises, and it's been like that for a year, okay? We had to do the same thing. So if the whole point of the story is if you are weight training and you're like, okay, my arms are too big, right? Tina's shoulders were way too big. She had these giant pumpkin delts, which we love, and it's amazing, and she looks fit, and she gets stopped everywhere she goes when she's in prep. But over the last 3 shows, I have had to drop her weight training significantly because of that reason. So I have trained a lot of women, excuse me, over the past 17 years, and I have yet to find someone who has said to me that they've gained too much muscle as a woman and they are unhappy and they need to stop, okay? Tina wanted to keep going, and I was like, you cannot, because she loves the look of it. She loves, you know, going out and being in a little black dress and just, you know, people stopping her and being like, oh my God, what do you do? How do you work out? I want your arms. And it's great. And she's a great party favor. Okay. But the problem is for the competition sense of things, it was working against her. So that is one very rare case where we have somebody who needs to scale back their weight training. Okay. Now, rep ranges. I know this is kind of lengthy, but just kind of driving the point home. The most important thing I will say though, is that you are doing the right amount of effort. Okay. That is key when it comes to lifting. This does not mean that you go to failure with every single set and rep that you do. And what that means is if you're doing, let's just say like bicep curls, okay? This is just an easy one for visual purposes. You're doing bicep curls. This does not mean every time that you do bicep curls, and let's say you're going to do 3 sets of bicep curls and every set you're doing is 12 reps, okay? This does not mean every set you're like, ugh, by like the last 2, you're going to failure every time. That does not mean that, okay? That is actually counterintuitive. A lot of people make that mistake. You don't want to be doing that, especially with every single exercise. It's actually really terrible for your body and it works opposite. It does not work in your favor. But it does mean hard, consistent effort with, all of your training sessions. Now, listen, I'm human. We're all human here. There are days when you are likely going through the motions. That's normal. Stress is high, stress at work, family, life, whatever. You're like, I'm just here for my mental health. Okay. Like I've had plenty of those sessions, but you want to get into a rhythm of consistently pushing yourself hard enough in the gym. And a lot of people, and I know this for a fact because we see it firsthand having a personal training studio, is that, this goes with even men. I've trained many men in my personal training days, husbands of wives. I owned a gym at one point, and so I was training several men as well, there. And a lot of times, most people don't know what that is. They don't know their threshold. They either go way too far or they're not pushing hard enough. And you really have to understand finding essentially like that Goldilocks spot of what is not pushing myself too far that I'm going to either be throwing up. That is never a success. We never want that in training sessions, or not recovering properly because you're pushing too hard every single session. We do see that. It's very rare, but we do see that from time to time. We see this in the population of clients that are a little more type A, hardcore, feel like they need to do something every single day or it's not working. I'm a recovering one of those people. And we will see them wanting to throw everything but the kitchen sink at their programming or their workouts or whatever, right? They go into the gym, they think they have to do 15 exercises every single time. Absolutely not. Like if I have more than 6 exercises on a training program for the day, I'm going to throw a fit. Like I'm literally coming for my coach. Okay. And most good bodybuilding coaches or coaches in general that understand goals and, hypertrophy, changing the shape of your body, if they're educated well enough, they will understand that that is counterintuitive. So FYI, if you're ever out there coach shopping or whatever, or you're talking with a friend and you're like, oh, what's on your program or whatever? What is your coach having you do? And it's like 13 exercises. You need to run the other way. Okay. That is way too much. Unless it's training for something specific. Like if you're training for like, I don't know, a mud run or something like that in your obstacle course or something. But for general, like low body fat, lean lifestyle, shapely muscles, you don't need that many.